We are ready. Calling to order our August meeting for the Borough of Conshohocken Authority. Before we get started, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mute yourself, George.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks. Shen, would you do a quick roll call for us? All right. I'll do the roll. There we go.
Parna Chibber. Here. Christine Martino.
Here.
Jack Ambler. Here. George Bass.
Here.
Tina Sokolovsky.
Here. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get started, do we have any invited guests that have any comments for this evening for public comments? I see no one in the audience. How about online?
We don't have any online.
Okay.
But I just want to.
You want to do an announcement for us? All right.
So I just want to introduce our new account clerk. This is Courtney Cole.
Nice to meet everyone.
Hi, Courtney. Welcome.
Thank you.
She just graduated from college, so she's
Getting started. Awesome.
Started.
Congratulations and welcome.
All right. Second day. There you go. Well, welcome aboard. All right. So it looks like we have a busy agenda. We did not have a meeting in July, so we'll have plenty to talk about for August. And we'll get started with our HRG rate study analysis. So I think we have an invited guest to go over that with us tonight.
It's Ryan from HRG will be presenting the rate analysis for us to go over.
Great. Hi, Ryan. Thank you.
My name is Ryan. How are you? I'm going to try to keep everything high level. From what I gather, you guys were distributed the
full
narrative
packet?
with the respective rate study.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Video. You have your backgrounds as well. All right. My name's Ryan, HRG. I've been helping out the authority for the past couple months with the rate analysis. Overall, background of how we usually do this, we look at prior historical expenses. We go line item by line item. We're pretty granular. We work with staff to see if there's any, crazy increases, but the majority of the time we would increase your expenses just based on the 5-year inflationary rate, and that's at about 4.5%. We also talk to staff about some capital improvements in there, so we want to make sure that you have the applicable cash on hand to handle that respective projects. And if there's ever a time where the authority were to take out debt, not in this case, but then we would implement the respective debt service for that projected capital. So first page here, it's just looking at your overall projection over that 5-year span, starting in 2026, which is your budgeted, and then going all the way until 2031. As noted, the majority of our operating expenses, they do increase by that 4.5%. And then you have your respective outstanding debt service for your bonds that you have outstanding. So in essence, this is your revenue requirement that is needed on an annual basis. In addition to these expenses and to the debt service, this is a capital improvement plan that we helped out. Brett gave some numbers. We worked with staff to kind of give us a ballpark of what potential projects and timelines and cost would be. Discussion was in regards to how these would be funded. As stated in the narrative as well as discussions, it was cash on hand and going that route instead of doing the debt service options. As you can see here, looks like 2028, you have a pretty large project. Looks like the RBC train
which is around $3.9 million. Now, we did take into account the portion of the authority and Plymouth Township within these capital expenses. So, now we get into the respective rate options. Taking a step back, we recognize that there are two rate districts within, obviously you have Conshohocken as well as West Conshohocken. So we wanted to make sure that the appropriate costs were allocated to those respective rate districts. Now, the majority of the West Conshohocken is going to be based off that debt service from, I forget what, I want to say it's the 2019 bond. So they are taking on that additional debt service, and that is why their rates are more than Conshohocken. Now, when we're looking at a rate study with your respective rate structure, you have a service charge and then you have a usage charge. So what we do is we look at the quote-unquote cost of service. And what we look at is your expenses and if they're fixed or if they're variable costs, okay? Majority of the time when we're looking at this, we would say 80 to 85% of costs are fixed, and then that 20 to 15% are variable. So in essence, you want to make sure that you are covering your fixed costs. So we wanted to make sure that's exemplified with your service charge. And then we cover the variable rate cost with the usage cost. So that is our cost of service option. Now, we do recognize that this may have tweaked some things around, so we did look at just doing an annual increase to make sure that you stay in line with your current policy so things don't jump around as aggressively, okay? So they were the two instances. So with those two instances, we came up with 5 different options, okay? So option A was based on that cost of service when you're breaking down your fixed and variable rate, and we are looking what you need annually. So what that means is that you may have an increase 7%, then it drops to 6%, then it's down to 2%. It's based on the actual revenue requirement each respective year. Now, recognizing that we want to maybe make sure that the ratepayers kind of have a stable outlook of what's coming, we wanted to streamline that a little bit, and that's where that phased annual increase is, which is option B. So you're not having all these random jumps. It's more of an even flow of increases throughout the 5-year projection. Now, in option C, that is, as I mentioned beforehand, not looking at that variable rate, fixed rate option. We're just looking at your current rate structure and your current dynamics, and we're just increasing it on an annual basis just to keep up with inflation. Now, option D is you're still looking at that cost of service allocation, but we wanted to bump our reserves a little bit, okay? So we utilized that for option D. Then option E, lastly, is you have those phased annual increases, not looking at the fixed and variable rate, but you do have that little bit of a bump in reserves just to make sure you have adequate cash on hand. So the next sheet, a lot of numbers thrown at you, a lot of noise, but in general, you're going to see for option A, an increase of that usage charge increased pretty aggressively, right? But then if you look at, the minimum charges increases aggressively. But then if you look at that usage charge now in option A, you see a pretty large decrease. So you really got to look at what a bill would look like for a respective individual. And it actually evens out, and you're not looking at that large of an increase based off a individual who is utilizing around 16,000 gallons per quarter. I think that was average consumption quarterly. So for the proposed bill in option A, even though you're getting a large increase for that quarterly flat, you are actually getting a little bit of a decrease for the total consumption and your quarterly charge. So option B, that is more spreading out that increase, so you're not having that large jump. So you have that 11% in your quarterly min, and then your usage charge drops by 30%, and then it drops throughout the other respective years. Option C, easy flow, 4% rates across the board, whether it's your minimum charge or whether it's your usage charge. Then you have option D, when that is the cost of service again, but we need that reserve target, and that is a little bit more of an increase to make sure you have appropriate cash on hand. And then lastly, you have option E, where you have that large increase to make sure you have appropriate cash on hand to bump up your reserves, just in case you have adequate cash on hand. So next page, we just want to take a step back and see where the authority currently stands with their peers. Right now, if you start from the top, you'll see the EPA affordable limit for Montgomery County. This is what EPA determines. It's around, I think it's 2.5% of the median household income for Montgomery County. And they believe, according to EPA, that the respective individuals within Montgomery County can afford $711 per quarter. Next on the plate, you have your private utilities, which are pretty aggressive. And then if you go down there, you have all your peers. You see where West Conshohocken currently stands with their rate district, as well as the Conshohocken Borough, which is more on the bottom of the playing field for your peer systems. Now, if you go to the next page, this is really where a lot of different colors out there, but you can see where things would stand in regards to your peers based on each respective option. It's good to take a step back and not just look at the rate increases or the percentages. It's good to take a step back and to see what the bills and the effects would be for your actual respective ratepayers. You can see here in regards to the lowest would be that option B. You're looking at around $109 for Conshohocken Borough, as well as $167 for West Conshohocken Borough. The highest will be that option E. That's just more as trying to bump up that reserve target. So you'll see that being the highest out of those 5 different scenarios. That is all I have for you in regards to just the presentation. Wanted to keep it high level. I'm hoping you guys may have read or saw some of the appendices attached to the report. Happy to answer any questions that you may have, or any additional input that you feel would be warranted for the report and just in general.
So most of these options don't get to like 2028, 3.9 plus another 3 million, so 7 million that we need in 2028. So that would be coming out of reserves, current reserves.
Pardon me, where are you?
So I guess from our current expenses, we're around 3.8, 3.9 million a year.
Okay.
And then
You
we
mean
have
like
the
just your
capital.
overall O&M expenses, you're saying?
We have the capital improvement on top of that, which
Yep.
in 2027, 2028 is several million.
Yes, and maybe I should have put that within this presentation, but we look at your cash on hand and your capital, and that's part of the narrative, this to see what is coming. We're making sure that the capital that's being spent, that you have appropriate cash on hand, and within our each respective option, I put in, I don't know if anybody's heard of it, Moody's Investor Services. They have a financial metric for sewer, water, and stormwater utilities, how they measure cash on hand. And we have that within each respective option, so you can see where you stand to make sure you're in good standing. Just as, not necessarily you're going to issue debt, but just so you can kind of see where you stand just in general in regards to the cash
So
on
with
hand
all of
metric.
these options, we have sufficient cash on hand.
Correct.
We would just be using more of it. in
Correct.
some cases.
Yep, and we look at your cash on hand, and if you look in the report, there is, on the bottom, you'll see a cash flow in and out, just with the respective projects.
What is sufficient cash on hand?
Days cash on hand, they say 270 days cash on hand is the AAA rating. Now, this is all indicative, but this is, I'm not a Moody's analyst of any, but this is based on their methodology, and just putting what your current revenues are in your cash
So
expenses.
the minimum of any of these is 270 days on cash on hand, and I guess
That's for your AAA rating. So,
Are we
just for example, let's look at.
Let me know which page, too, if you.
Do you have the report on you?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you look at all these exhibits, I think it begins
Yep.
probably exhibit. You want to start off exhibit 3, and that's like your existing rates, and you'll see at the bottom.
So cash on hand.
You'll see that cash on hand metric, and you see by 2031 you're only at 134 days cash on hand, and that's single A according to Moody's. Okay. Then if you go to each respective option, we have this analysis just to see where you stand for that cash on hand metric. So option A, you're still considered quote unquote the AAA rating. Option B, you drop a little bit in 28, 29, because remember, that's more of like the smoothed out process. We're not being as aggressive. Then you can see just throughout, you kind of you stick to that AAA cash on hand metric that we have there.
Does it give us like better borrowing power or something?
In essence, it does. Yeah, I don't want this to serve as a,
Financial.
yeah. But we do look at that it's a good metric to utilize when
the
considering
health, for our health.
the cash that you have.
Is that Exhibit 3 at the end there, is that based on current projections without any of the options, like what we had originally
Correct. So
planned?
Exhibit 3 right now is if you were just to keep your rate steady over that.
Okay.
Yep. So right now you're seeing a pretty appropriate cash on hand, but then obviously it does drop with your projects, et cetera.
Right. Okay.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Then we also look at that your debt service coverage and how that relays as well to the Moody's indicative rating as well.
Did you use any other additional revenues or just anything we have existing, not anything we have in the potential future?
No, so we use like some normal non-rate revenue, your interest income, et cetera, but not anything in regards to anything large outcome. I think we're looking at around $580,000 in non-rate revenue over that span.
And this cost of service, you're trying to make it so it's, people are paying.
Fair, equitable, defensible, so you can kind of allocate those respective costs to those individuals, whether it's the usage and quarterly charge, and as well as the different rate districts.
So equitable for individuals or for, you know what I mean, like, is it kind of redistribute by individuals using extra, or you're saying commercially there was some?
I would say just any respective user. We're just trying to, overall, the majority of costs are fixed, whether there's usage or not.
Yeah.
There's still infrastructure out there. Obviously, there's some instances, hey, if there's more flow, chemical usage goes up, et cetera, and we want to account for that. But you want to make sure that you're covered in regards to that fixed cost going forward.
Maybe I missed it. What was the reserve target we were targeting for D&E, or was it approximately?
Let me see.
Is that based on some sort of like 5%, or how do we come up with that reserve number anyway?
Yeah, I think we wanted to have a minimum, I want to say, 5 million. I'm sorry, I can't give you.
It's about a number, man.
Yeah, I can't
I
give you
get
the
it.
actual basis behind it. I can read into it, but there is some narrative regarding the thought process behind it and that reserve allocation.
Jack, we were looking to make sure that we could cover the capital improvements that need to be done, like the RBCs and that kind of stuff. So that's what the reserve would have been covering.
I think the D&E are an
The D&E,
additional.
that was in case we wanted to do an acquisition or something.
Yeah. But so that was that based on the number of any?
We just put,
Just
we weren't sure because we weren't sure how much the property would actually cost. So we kind of put like an extra 2 million in there,
Okay.
just in case. So that's what D&E are for.
So A is just a flat 4.5% increase across, is that what A is?
That's C.
That's C.
C.
Is a flat 4% across the board, kind of utilizing to saying, hey, let's just keep up with inflation and let's just increase it on a 4%.
And what's A?
A is you have that cost of service analysis where you are increasing rates based on that annual revenue requirement. And B is more streamlined, where you have just an even increase throughout that projection.
Yeah,
So A would be higher in years 2 and 3 where we have higher capital outliers.
Yeah, we're trying just to, yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
And is there a recommendation? Like, is there a favored option?
We try not to give recommendations. This is a board policy, and we just try to give you our respective options to give.
Okay, fair enough.
So are there large expenses anticipated after, this just goes to 2031? Is there something big after 2031?
Who knows what the EPA is gonna do to us?
Yeah. So the expenses, you're gonna have the RBCs coming up again in the 2030s. And then with all the regulation changings with this PFAS, which is currently in proposed phase right now, you may be doing some type of solids handling in the 30s to reduce our output, depending what's going on. So no matter what, you got RBCs, you're looking at today's dollars, if it's 4 million, you're probably then, it's gonna look at inflation, could be 5 million by 2035, and then whatever goes on with PFAS, we all know, I've said this for the last couple of years, our sludge costs are gonna quadruple. It's a fact. The current legislation, as they're going to propose with the PFAS, expect our sludge rates to go from anywhere from 100 to 500% more over the next couple of years. As land application, as I see the PFAS, is gonna dwindle if we have PFAS in our sludge. That's the regulation that's going. We have a comment period to September 2nd for all the new regulations in regards to that.
And this is just the sewer part of our business. This is not the stormwater.
Stormwater, we did our rate analysis last year, so this is only
Okay.
the wastewater. That's correct, the sewer
You
part.
guys had a prior rate study that kind of ended.
Took us out,
Yeah,
right.
took us out.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't lumped all together.
Nope.
The cost of service approach, is that like the industry standard right now? Like, are people trying to move that direction? Are we like an outlier, or are we?
No, I don't think you're an outlier. We're putting our name on this. We want to make sure that we have every option out there in regards, that we're just not saying, here's a 4% increase. We wanted to get in the weeds and create this cost of service analysis for you to make sure you're allocated, show you the allocation appropriately.
Is that unusual that we're 80%, 85% fixed? Is that?
No, not at all. I think that's the norm. Yeah. We try to, we have, I actually don't have it on me. I usually bring it. There's the WEF rulemaking for sewer charges that we follow. Just try to, and that's that allocation, et cetera, for the variable and fixed, and that's where we get that from.
Is WEF suggesting the cost of service allocation thing? Is that?
That they would suggest it, yes, I would say.
I mean, defensible bills is nice if it's relatively
Yeah.
indefensible, I guess. And just on the trying to keep cash in hand, not borrowing, which I think is a good effort, or, an effort that, I don't know, you guys have been working hard on. How unusual is that would other municipalities be like looking for, I'll just borrow, I won't worry about cash on hand, stuff like that, because they can borrow cheap, or is there?
No, I think, I think people, authorities, utilities like the cash on hand aspect, but they also recognize, I think it's getting a little bit more competitive, but the Penvest loans, which are pretty low interest. But yeah, I think it's across the board in regards to how authorities are paying for capital. We are doing multiple rate analysis right now, and I would say it's really 50-50. There is in Lehigh County area, there is a sewer utility that has never taken on debt, but they're thinking about it now just because that Penvest opportunity. But that's become pretty competitive now because now they're starting to do rankings. So you have to have a backup plan if you were to go that route and don't have that cash on hand. If you don't get that respective loan, then you're taking out a 5.5% to 7.5% loan.
Do you guys have opinions on this? I mean, I'm sure you're very happy to hear them. Or certainly anyone, but.
My opinion is just like we've been doing the last 5 years or so, steady increase every year. I don't know how you feel, Shannon. I mean, it's systematic. We're getting very stable, if you notice our cash reserves. It's just that we got to repair, we have a couple major cash items coming over projects, and it brings stability in the mid-30s, and we have another round coming up. And the only outlier is the solids handling. Because you're not going to see the dramatic decrease that we saw in sludge disposal that we did over the last 2 years. You got more EDUs coming in, and we're maximizing what we have done with the learning process with how we're running our digesters. So the 40% we saw decrease is not going to happen. Our quantities are going to only go up.
So the important thing for me was to see that West Conshohocken is covering the cost of West Conshohocken. So you've captured that in here, and I appreciate that. What I think we have to decide on is what level of comfort do we have. We are going to have sewer increases. So what level of comfort do we have to have those increases? Is it a hit 1 year and then, even it out and lower it? Or is it going into it at a steady state where we can then have the residents know that we're trying to control it to the best of our ability, but knowing that we have expenses that we have to plan for? Or is the message, we're going to go steady state with a bump to get to a point where we have reserves in case of any additional things that would come up? So it's going to be what we're comfortable with messaging and what we think the community can handle.
What, devil's advocate, if Plymouth Township approves the data center and the data center puts chemicals that impact our sewer plant, what does that do to our expenses?
So based upon
It'll
what,
throw our whole plan out of whack.
it can throw us out, but based upon for Mike provided last information last month, it's only going to be sewer. But any customer could do that to us. A homeowner can do that. It's just as easy as data center. They dump something down. The only thing that would do that to us is if we get hit with a toxic load. Obviously, we had the issue with the loading before. Our RBCs are going to die off, and it's going to take us a month to rehabilitate them.
But if they flush their system monthly,
Right, so it's closed loop. So closed loop, they're gonna tell you, we're not gonna dump large amounts of water, but they gotta clean that closed
Flush the
loop, and that
system.
They gotta
water's
haul
gotta go
So
somewhere.
what you get, if, the point is, if we go in a violation, I'd say in 3 months, DEP or EPA is gonna be issuing fines against us. Not necessarily, we're not gonna produce more quantity of product that's gonna cost us, because if they hit us, we're just gonna do direct pollution. If our RBCs die, you're gonna,
So I guess my overarching question is, can we build something in that if that
Covers
does
those
happen,
costs.
that charge gets charged back to Plymouth?
so if we find the source, and I'll deviate them, there's enough in our ordinances and all the regulations, there's an economic impact to us, and there's calculations that you go back to the individual that has caused harm to us.
Okay.
And there's all pre-treatment programs.
Yep.
And depending on how their system is going to be developed, there may be a requirement that they pre-treat before anything comes to us. We have several customers who pre-treat before they come to us. So.
I just want to make sure that if it gets passed and gets into our plant, that we're locked up, that then we have recourse.
Yes, there is always recourse with any of our customers that we end up.
Okay. Then
But we couldn't find the last culprit.
Correct. But I couldn't put a DVA, was it a loading issue or was it a lab issue? I mean, I can't tell you that's factual either way. And now we plummeted this year, so.
But the other authority that Brett and I worked together, we very easily found a culprit 5-6 years ago. It was Conchi Brewing.
And they were,
And we were able to determine where it was coming from, and then we
Okay.
took steps. And then they had to put in a testing manhole, and then they started hauling because they couldn't meet the standards. They were just giving us.
loading after loading, and eventually
Yeah.
they got to the point, based upon the correspondence, they ceased their operation and moved it.
And the chemical company was the same thing.
Yep.
It took us a month, but we eventually found it was them.
Okay.
Went to them, they had to set up a whole holding tank, they had to pre-treat and everything. So you can find out who it is. The one we had that one time, we're pretty sure that was somebody pulling into a garage that had a sewer drain and then just dumping whatever they were dumping right into the sewer drain.
You are correct, we did find one, the culprit like that. I'm not gonna say who or what, but we did find one, and there are footprints left. If we can find we're detectives to find the source.
And this is a new thing, so if there's a change.
Right.
That would be the first place we would look, I would think. Okay.
On that list of municipalities there, or, the authorities, how did you, is this just our closest neighbors, is basically?
Trying to look at some of your closest peers. We didn't want to go too far out.
Just in an area, yeah.
Want to either do that or just out of Montgomery County, just some boroughs. We always give just that affordable limit as well as the private utilities where our Conshohocken there.
Is Plymouth Township so low because part of Plymouth Township uses us?
I don't know. I would have to look at that.
No, they always just kept their rates very, very, very low.
Because they have a lot of business that supports their rates.
Thank you. Now it all makes sense.
So are we saying we are recommending D or E because we want more cash on hand, or not necessarily? Those are the options that leave you with the most cash.
I think D and E is a strategy if we're looking for strategic planning for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by when do we have to make this decision of which option?
Probably soon, because the
By the end of
budget.
this year, I mean, this is all draft, and if you're more than welcome, we can always have him evaluate different methodologies yet, correct? There are different ways we can look at it. This is only a preliminary educational process, and if you see when I was making a different evaluation, we can come up with an F evaluation. So this is just a present that we've been working on back since we started at the beginning of this year, and this is where we stand at this point.
I didn't know if, I know that one of the things we're going to see tonight is the proposed budget. Wouldn't this impact that? Because wouldn't we start with next year?
But
Our budget, as we talk in the future, is actually very stable. If you had a chance to review it, the main items in that budget is late 2027, anticipating of the second quarter of 2028. We have anticipation 2 of our staff members retiring, with basically combined 60-plus years of service or more. So that is the major items in there, is in preparation of hiring someone the last quarter of next year. Other than that, we were stable in our budget if you reviewed it.
So all
We're
these,
stable, but if we select one of these options,
It could affect how we look at, how our cash reserves are in the future.
but they all meet, the requirements.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not, rate do we meet those.
So let's just take option D as a scenario, okay? So in 2027, option D gives us a little bit of bump for reserve. It's taking us from 6294 quarterly up to 9040 quarterly, which is like a 44% increase. But then you do that math, and it's $9.15 quarterly additional dollars, because we're gonna have to get down to that level.
right,
So, I'm sorry, monthly, because I divided it by
Yeah.
3. Sorry.
okay.
So it's an additional $10 a month if we go with a plan that gives us a strategic vision for.
I mean, yeah.
That rate structure.
And it seems like that's the better structure, or might be more defensible, but, and I guess the only one maybe that I'm missing, I don't know if I want it added, but it's like what is gets us to D and E's extra cash, but stays at a direct percentage increase, like for C, it's like 4% for everything, right? So that's like the easiest from accounting.
Where you might go 4%,
Maybe it's like-
6%.
Or is it like 4.5 or 5% the whole time?
All the way
You know,
down.
like if we were just trying to like, all right, right
Get to
there,
that
like,
dollar.
this is
Consistent, I get it.
the easiest, it might be the easy, I don't know if does it matter at all for you, Shannon? Like,
It doesn't matter to me as long as, like, as soon as I put the numbers in, because we're not changing it by 4%, whatever. So whatever number is given to me, once it's in the system, then it's good to go. So it doesn't really matter if it's a 4%. The only thing for us is if we do a large increase, we may get more phone calls.
yeah, right away.
I mean, if you do the flat 4%, then you might not get as much pushback. But if you do a big increase in the very beginning, and then, like you said, it decreases, that may not be bad either.
You'll probably get some phone calls for those individuals with the low usage, right? That's where that jump is.
That's what it will be. It'll be people who aren't using a lot will,
Correct.
because they're just attached, and most of the cost is just having availability, not the actual flow.
It'll be me.
Well,
I'll be
no,
calling.
you would definitely, when you're saying the
Well,
one
that-
individual call, I knew it was gonna be you.
But you know what? It's good to have you here, because from your perspective, what's the
Which
best
would make you the least
message?
angry.
Right, I look at option D for Conshohocken and see 44% increase in 2027, and I have heart palpitations. And then I see 77% in 2028, and I'm a full-blown heart attack.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm liking the zeros there on out, but that means
That's a huge
I'm just staying at that high rate, like,
Yeah.
let's be realistic. So, no, I don't like that.
So B or C then? Is that
Well,
for you?
E leaves a huge reserve and doesn't look as, the increase.
Right,
E,
it's,
the cash reserve
eases
is
me
still
into
quite
it.
high.
but it doesn't give us reserve,
It
right?
does, E.
Oh, E
But
does,
you,
yes.
Christine,
I thought you said
think
E,
about
sorry.
that. Ease me into it, but you're going in your retirement function.
Yeah, you're
So do
still
you-
jumping me 24%.
Right? So do you still want to be eased in as your retirement climbs along? I guess.
Yeah,
you
because
get-
I'm thinking then I collect more of my IRA and
Okay.
Social Security. Right now, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Okay. And the fact of the matter is, there's not a lot of revenue that we can go after other than the waste, right? There might be a couple options that we've talked about, but the revenue's got to come from the use.
And the reserve, D and E are the only two that have reserve, correct?
They all have their own respective reserve. D&E is pumping it up a little bit.
Aggressive.
For strategy.
Okay, because it just seems like couldn't, instead of zeros for 2029 through 2031, spread it out just a little bit more?
I think there was a minimum requirement we wanted to have in 27, 28, and that's why.
Because of our high expenses.
Because of hitting, you wanted to hit at least, I think it was at least 5 million each respective year. So that is why you're seeing in reserves for that D&E. So you're just hitting that 5 million in 28, and then you're good to go thereafter. But if you were to take anything out of the reserve that was pretty large, you'd still be around that 5 million mark.
So without a reserve, you don't have quite the same borrowing power when we already have debt service, if there was an opportunity to do anything else. The ones that are gonna really complain are West Conshohocken, because we're hitting them pretty hard, but we're hitting them hard because they have an expense that we need to pay for and that the residents of Conshohocken shouldn't have to continue to pay for based on some decisions that were made by prior folks.
Were they getting the same rate? Is that, or are you saying, or they're just because they're the low users, so they'll be inherently?
No, we spent $9 million to buy something from them that we
Right.
didn't have to spend $9 million on.
Right.
But the residents of Conshohocken over the last several years helped support that in
Sure.
our rates. So now we're breaking it so that they're
So they
paying
were
for
getting
the.
the original, we
Correct.
were all getting the same rate, now we're, right, okay. I missed the other, okay, makes sense.
Except for C.
There is a breakdown at sea. There's a larger cost, but not as, there still could be costs to be covered with West Conshohocken. So,
Oh, I see, okay, that makes sense. Because they're, yeah, okay, makes sense, they're going up a lot more than.
Yeah.
Oh, so then I don't like the C even as much for that reason. Because I think it should, I don't know. Somebody asked like, oh, my neighborhood doesn't use that much, we should get our own rate assessment. But anyway, I think 2 is fair for this break. So yeah, it makes me not like C as much anymore. Ugh.
Well, I think the options are great. Thank you for all the different scenarios. That was very helpful to kind of look at it, spread it. And then if we want to play with these numbers in any way, if we decide we don't want 5 million reserve to target, we want 3 million, we can play with the numbers more that way.
and then we can
Yeah.
finagle them up.
Because in the chart that has all the options in it, option E, I mean, if I lived in, well, yeah, for both West Country and Conshohocken, that's the top amount.
Option E.
Option E for 2027. That bumps it up the highest.
D.
E, according to this, but according to this chart, the residential wastewater bill comparison, I know D's the highest on this one, but on this chart, it's showing E as the higher one.
Yeah, I think that chart, yeah, I just went wrong.
Right. Which one? The rate options or this
Yeah,
one?
but this D,
Okay.
I think the D should be higher than where it's located there on the comparison one, which had all the different color codings. I think.
Yeah, it seems confusing. How is option D below option A?
Or, yeah, below option C, yeah.
Or C and E?
Yes.
So it's option D, maybe.
Something is,
In the West Conshohocken
yeah,
side.
something is wonky.
Yeah, you're right, it's different.
personally like the equitable ones, but done at a I think a consistent rate will just be easier to sell. So some sort of version of C with the equity part of it done.
I just know what the economy is now. You think it's gonna get better in 2027, that people are gonna be like, oh, well, okay, it's just one bill. No, every bill's going up. Electric's gone up, water's gone up, everything's gone up.
Which is, easier to explain as well, right? Like, hey, we're paying 5% more as opposed to, why am I getting 72% more?
But to have a reserve, we'd have to do more than the 4%.
Right, so
Correct.
I would bump it up to a higher number there. maybe
But we're
5.
also trying to catch up on rates that were kept artificially low for a long time. So we're trying to solve for some decisions that were made years ago that have caught up. And then the question is this the right time to plan so that something like this doesn't happen strategically in the future? And it's the balance of that.
Right.
For years, the authority used tapping fee money to keep the rates artificially low, which is illegal. But that's what they were doing in the early 2000s and the late 1990s.
And now we're running low on tapping fees, correct?
Tapped out.
Yeah.
Right.
Not having much development, yeah.
So we've set ourselves up.
Well,
In
you can't-
essence.
It- you know, it
can't
did-
use
it-
tapping fee money for rates.
Right.
Right, you only can use it for capital projects and stuff,
Okay.
and infrastructure repairs, anything that's capital.
This is helpful, thank you.
Yeah, it's great.
No problem. Just keep me posted on adjustments. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
for
doing
being
it.
here. It was very helpful. Since we're talking about West Country, I just want to sneak a question in because I don't know where on the agenda this would fit. We talked about West Country, and pardon me for not knowing exactly the scenario, but they released funds that they weren't authorized to release. We talked about it, I think, 2 months ago. And Ed, you reached out to the person in West Country, and they were willing to
Have a conversation.
have a conversation.
Yes, I was actually going to mention that in my report.
Oh, sorry.
So, I know, it's fine. So everybody, they're willing to sit down and talk, and so I want to definitely have our solicitors involved with that. So we're just waiting for all parties to agree on a time at this time.
Okay.
So hopefully in the next week or two, we'll be able to make that happen.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
So as a final close, do you want us to reevaluate item C with a further analysis in regards to capital reserves?
Personally, I have to sit down and play with all the
Okay.
numbers in my own
Well,
head.
we
on
have plenty of
paper.
months to evaluate, but if you have any questions or just
I was gonna
reach
say,
out
can
to
we
me,
just shoot them over to you guys?
just shoot a text to me or whatever, and
Okay.
I'll get in touch with him.
Okay.
Very digestive for, like I said, this is just preliminary.
Yeah.
But I feel it's necessary, it's only, I know it's almost September, but we're ahead of, in my opinion, we're ahead of schedule.
Because I did look at this, but I was banking on your explanation, so thank you. You were very helpful. Yes.
The regular document was a little dry. So I was like, oh, man, I hope there's a compilation here, some summary splatter on screwed.
They didn't tell me I needed to know math this well.
All right. Any other questions on the rate analysis? So we kind of will do our thing on our own. We'll shoot anything over that we need Brent to kind of look at, play with, crunch, and then from there, we'll be able to have another conversation before budget decision making. Sound like a plan?
That's the plan.
All right, thank you so much. All right, next item on our agenda. Do we have any executive session needs today?
You just want to give me at the end, the executive session?
Do we have an executive session?
I have one item to bring out with personnel, and then the other item if we'll.
You do it at the end, yeah?
do it at
Okay.
the end.
And just report on it at
The September meeting?
But I don't think, I wasn't here in July, so I don't know if you didn't hold an exec session.
No,
after
not,
that.
No.
yeah.
None of us were here in July.
Oh, that's right.
I'm like, wait, what?
All right. So moving right along then, I'm looking for an approval of our meeting minutes from June of 2026.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I forgot. Hey, George.
That's what I wanted to tell you. His computer died.
Okay. Like, hey, George.
I
are you
told
there?
him I would let you know.
Okay. All
His
right.
computer died.
All right. So we have quorum. We're good. All right. Next item on the agenda, under the report section, we'll start with our financial reports. Let's see here. So, under the financial reports, we've got a listing for both July and August. Any questions related to any of the accounts payable or revenues received in the financial reports?
I just had one question on the, I guess this is the July one. Anthony Giuliano, I just didn't know what that was. Replace, it's the second item.
Oh,
Replace with new solar.
Okay.
That's one of our electrical contractors working on the grant work. Apparently, one of our staff was cutting the grass at the plant, and a rock hit his automobile window and broke it. So that's what that was.
And it had to be the thing I questioned. Sorry.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, hearing no questions. We have a total in bills paid for July of 2026 at $625,336.29. And total bills to be paid for August of 2026 is $474,837.66. So in total, I'm looking for a motion to approve a spend for July and August for $1,110,173.95.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, and we'll do a roll call vote for this one.
Sure. Christine Bertino,
Yes.
Jack Ambler,
Yes.
Aparna Chiver,
Yes.
Tina Sokolowski.
Yes. All right, motion carries. Next item in the financial reports is just our, it looks like our insurance renewal, October 2026 to 2027, Shannon?
That is correct.
What would you like to tell us about that?
Okay, so, let me pull it up here. So
Can only imagine.
we tried, the broker did go out and try to get other quotes for insurance.
Okay.
Both United Healthcare and Aetna declined. So we only have the insurance renewal from IVX. It is an increase of about $1,000 a month.
Per person?
No, as a whole.
Okay.
Like, actually, it's more like 1,300, so like 15,000 a year.
Why did the other
For
ones
the,
decline?
go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Why did the other ones decline? It's just not make enough money.
I'm guessing because we only have 11 employees
Okay,
and
it's not
they're just like,
Yeah.
no. They just said they decided to decline. So,
Did we attempt to look at the consortium through Divot or anywhere, other consortiums where we can pool staff?
We could do that, but I defer to Mike, then we would have to get the union involved to proceed that way.
So, anytime, and again, I didn't know this was gonna come up, so I don't have the contract in front of me, but I think the union contract references current plan or something similar. I think when we negotiated it, we had to, we gave ourselves some flexibility. I think when we looked at this a few years ago, I think there were some other plans out there, looking at like an Aetna plan or something like that, which just wouldn't qualify under the union contract. So I'm assuming
It's not saying that in the future we can't do that, or sit down with the union to discuss those plans.
And Tina, when you say consortium, do you mean partnering up with other?
So
Sewer
in,
authorities?
yeah, in municipality and different groups, they pool all of their people so that they can get lower rates.
Yeah, in the school district.
Right,
They do that. We're with Bucks and Montgomery.
yeah.
Do you have like some association with them? Like, could we pool with
We could
them?
reach out and do that as an internal analysis.
I think it's beneficial to take a look at it based on what's going on in healthcare. We're not going to be able to keep riding the increases that we're going to keep seeing in the benefit plans that we have. And based on what we just saw for rates,
This is our first time we've had.
Right.
We've been stable to this year.
yeah. And I don't see it changing in the near future with what's going on with healthcare and CMS and everything. So I do think it's time to start looking for options for the future, that we could at least get our employees something close to what they have had without it being onerous on the authority or on the employees.
I agree.
So it's a 15K annual increase. Any change to the benefits?
No, everything is the same.
Everything's exactly the same.
Yes.
And then remind me for, do we have in the contract that when folks retire, they get benefits after they leave? Okay, thank you.
They're not cops.
I just wanted to make sure, because I don't want to be caught off guard.
But no,
Okay.
I would have loved that, but.
Right? We all would have. Okay. All right,
So we
so,
can approve it for this
Yes.
year, and then next year, we're gonna try to do over the next.
yeah, it doesn't sound like we can
essentially.
negotiate it any differently, unless we want to strip things from it. I don't know that we're in
You
a,
have to talk to the union.
right, so,
And the fact that we can't do any shopping because no one else wants to give us quotes. Like, I see that as a,
And this is the very first year that that happened. Previously, we've always had other options that we could pick from. This year, I got the email back and they said they declined.
and they
So-
just declined. They didn't say why.
No, but I'm assuming it's because we probably only have 11 employees. It's a very small plan. There's not.
We're not worth the
we
effort.
wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
bring a cost to
Right.
us that would be
Right.
palatable.
Right.
Okay, so I am looking for a motion to accept the IBX renewal for October 26th through September of 27 at an increase of 15K annually for IBX plan.
I'll make the motion.
One second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And then we'll do due diligence over this next year to try and figure out what options we may have for the future.
Now, one item to take note of, Linda is actually retiring, and Courtney, as we were informed, she will not be taking our health care plan. So there'll be actually a reduction of almost 3,000, mid-3,000 off that 15.
Okay.
Thanks, Courtney.
All right. Cheers. All right, so that looks like that concludes our financial report out. So I'll be looking for a motion to accept the finances into public record.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is our solicitor's report, and it looks like you're a busy man tonight.
I am indeed. We have 5 action items for consideration this evening. One, the first one is a ratification of the appointment of Rich Sokorai of High Swartz LLP for the representation regarding Plymouth Township Data Center special exception application. This is a ratification because of the timing of us not holding our July meeting. and the timing of the hearings. The board members all approved Mr. Sokorai's hiring. He's already been hired, he's already been engaged, and now we're just going to ratify that vote. So we would just need a vote to ratify the appointment of Richard Sokorai.
Okay, looking for a motion to ratify the appointment of Richard Sokorai, Esquire of High Swartz, to represent us regarding the Plymouth Township Data Center Special Exception Application.
I'll make a motion.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And he's been brought up to date on what's going on and.
Yep. He attended the last one. The last couple of ones have been mostly kind of procedural in nature,
Right.
but the one where there was substantive action, where there was testimony, he was present.
And he's got all our ordinances and
Yep.
everything to
Yep.
figure out his.
So is he gonna like issue us a, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, is he like gonna issue us a report or something, or?
I don't know if that's, we can always have him do that. I don't know if that's actually been discussed with him. I think it's more of a monitor and report back. You know, kind of the advantage is that my firm is there in a different capacity, so we're both aware that if there's anything that's when it gets to anything that's going to impact us, we'll have two sets of eyes and ears there.
I guess for now, he's just gonna attend these meetings on our behalf. If data and stuff comes out, he can filter it and say, hey, this could be useful for you guys, type of thing.
I think the intent is when they're talking about setbacks and building heights and noise and things like that, he's not really going to be engaged. When they start talking about wastewater and stormwater and anything else that could impact our system, then that's when he'll be more engaged and more involved.
I'm just imagining we're gonna like see some bills and be like, I mean, he's doing stuff in theory in the background for us, but I know, anyway, we've got you there as well, so. So I feel some good coverage there.
There are a lot of lawyers at these meetings. There's a whole panel of lawyers, and they're very on top of what the expert is saying and cross-examining on demand. So I've been very impressed by the legal team.
Our guy's been speaking out?
No, it's all
Conshohocken.
procedural right now.
Okay.
Conshohocken has. No, it's not, it's a little bit more than procedural. They've begun testimony from their first expert witness.
For the procedure part of it. They haven't really talked about the actual ordinances, have they?
No, they have.
They started?
They've started with the planner being presented by the applicant. So
Got it.
I don't think they got very far with him, but yeah.
Okay.
And there's a noise study assessment that's out on the website. So they're putting more documents out there. I don't know if they're making them very public that they're out there, but they're out there.
So, we'll see. All right.
The second item for consideration this evening is also something that we have been discussing, the fact that the borough is looking to purchase a new building in a different part of town for its public works facility. And the public works facility that currently exists, I won't say directly across the street from our plant, but it's pretty close, right? It's almost right across.
It's right there.
All right. The borough is interested in potentially selling that to us. So we need to go and get an appraisal. And so we have an agreement in front of you this evening to engage Christopher K. Bourland of JB Real Estate Valuation and Advisory LLC for an appraisal of the Public Works building at a quoted fee of $4,250.
Any questions on the appraisal of the property for purchase?
I know in an email, George was asking what we were buying it for. I don't know if that's, I think it's good due diligence, whatever, to figure this thing out. It's a property nearby, but I don't know if that's another time we talk about it.
Well, you know, we're a small plot of land.
Yep, I do.
And can be utilized for our storage of equipment. Plus, if we end up envisioning in the future, you will be doing something solids handling. Obviously, we'll have to do pollution prevention, everything else regards what we have done. But that is how I see it, is storage and solids handling. our footprint in that plant down there, unless we go vertical, we have nothing. And this opportunity was presented us with a couple, month or so ago, and it's a good choice for us. We can't go south, I mean, you can't go across, you got the Schuylkill River, there's the trail, we're limited.
Pave over that.
Huh?
Pave over that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Would we be allowed to build process equipment and stuff on that side? Is there like zoning issues or something like, or anything like that with that?
There's always zoning
Yeah.
stuff.
But so like if we were to buy it, is that like, will that always have to be our storage area, and then we'd have to do advanced stuff?
Probably, based on the way it's zoned, the side that the sewer plant's on is more of the industrial side that the other is on is a mixed-use residential
Yeah.
/ commercial. You know, it's not bad to have clean and dirty, not together. And then if we start handling solids, it also is a potential opportunity for revenue generating to handle other people's solids.
And you have, this has been presented to me from numerous members, what can we do? So if I look at us, you could do a joint venture and make funds, as long as we do it, obviously, the cognizant is obviously noise control and mitigate any type of odors. And we have a possibility of making a revenue generator. We're not gonna go high end, but one of our neighbors, say White Marsh wants to do something, instead of, it goes up to $500 a ton, we say, well, it's $500 a ton for us, and we can put a system in to dry it and reduce it, and we cover our costs and make some capital improvements plans for ourselves to be sustainable. There's many options, but due to the fact that we are landlocked,
Yeah, that's
this is an opportunity for us to evaluate the potential purchase.
So this is the acquisition that you mentioned, Shannon, was built into the reserve. So this will take like a month. I mean, we could get this before we make any decision on the rates, this appraisal. This doesn't take that long, it just
So
takes a long
20
time.
days.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. When do you want to bring the rates back, in October or in September?
I would say we want to make a decision by at least November beginning.
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna say before
Then you'll
November, I'd
definitely
like
have
to
that
know.
back by then. Yep.
So we got 3 meetings to meet to come up with our plan.
And the city is moving, is that the reason why it's available?
So a building became available for Public Works, who are outgrowing the 5 different buildings that they're in across the borough, to move everything into one space and have plenty of room for additional growth. So with doing that, there will be some sales of some other properties.
So they're moving potentially to Caldwell, that building?
That property over there, yeah. Yeah, there's an agreement
And
of
then
sale.
consolidating all the other locations that they have in Cunchy to that location.
Correct.
And then selling the properties that they no longer need.
Yes, with the exception of 7th Avenue Garage, because that's part of a grant, and so that should be part of the park system. That never should have been what it's being used for currently. So we got a ding on that when they came and did an asset review, that we're not using it in the way that it was intended. So we needed to put in a mediation plan, which is why we have all these different pocket parks, to try and make up for that ground, which we didn't fully do. So this will be returning that 7th Avenue space back to more of the park system. All right, with all that being said, do I have an approval for the spending of $4,250 to get the appraisal for the Public Works building by Christopher K. Bourland?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Third item this evening is the approval of a service and escrow agreement for a project located at 440 East 9th Avenue. The developer is Catania Construction LLC. And as always, if you want to know more details about the project, it's better to ask Ed and Brent.
What are they building?
Knocked one down, put two up.
Okay. Singles?
Yes.
I could have guessed that.
Any other questions? All right, do I have a motion for the solicitor to put together a service and escrow agreement for the project located at 440 East 9th Avenue?
Make the motion.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, anyone opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is a resolution establishing the minimum municipal obligation for the Pennsylvania Municipal Retirement System Pension Plan for the year 2027. This is something we do every year. This is something we are required to do every year. This is basically the state telling us how much we have to put away to make sure that our pension is, if not fully funded, meeting the minimum requirements of being funded. Very few pensions are, from an actuarial standpoint, are ever fully funded, because their assumption is always that everybody's going to retire right at the very same moment, and so there's always a little bit of a drop. So, but we're required to do this by law.
Any questions on the MMO? All right, looking for a motion to establish a resolution for the MMO for Pennsylvania Municipal Retirement System Pension Plan 46-06-8N for the plan year of 2027.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, it's listed as tentative, but we did receive the documentation today. This is an approval of a contract for professional services for the project located at 108 East 7th Avenue. The developer is HPA Tax Sale 2024 LLC. And as always, if you want to know anything about the project, it's best if you ask Ed and/or Brent.
They bought the house with a large lot next to it, and they're just throwing a house next to it. I saw your wheels turn, and it's right, you know where the apartments are across from, it's right in between there and their first house. And they're moving quickly.
So I'm looking for approval for a contract for the professional service fee.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Do we have to look at our fees for these for every year to make sure our professional service fees are covering these projects and stuff? Like, is there a fee schedule that we look at on an annual basis for?
Not for the professional service fees, because that's an escrow.
Okay.
And the applicant is required to
Put their-
refund that escrow if
Okay.
it begins to get low. Shannon does a good job of keeping on top of it. We also have the little bit of the hammer for most projects that go to completion. The ones you run into problems with are the ones where the project gets abandoned and there's money owing, because then there's no incentive. But we always have the hammer for projects that are completed. They need final documents from us, and we make them pay everything off. So.
Okay, so we don't have a
Nope.
rate structure.
Nope,
so
and we
it's-
look at our fee schedule every year for other fees. so,
Okay.
Yep.
So is it saying that you just charge the amount of hours it takes you to process it, essentially? Is that, or?
Whatever we work on, whatever the engineer works on, and then there's an administrative fee as well.
It's not set, it's like however many hours you guys put in.
Yes,
you get paid.
yes.
Right. Any other questions? All right, hearing no other questions, looking for a motion to accept the solicitor's report into record.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is our engineer's report. Hello, sir.
Good evening. Some very positive progress. Well, actually, a couple things. The Keystone Engineering Group The electrical engineer is finalizing the design for the influent pump station control panel. They're actually going to be meeting with us in the near future so we can get that finalized, get that ready for bid. The wastewater treatment plant electrical upgrade is coming towards completion, it's about on schedule. There's been very few problems. Contractor's been awesome to deal with. Somebody I'd like to work with in the future. So I'll give them that very, very high recommendation. They have, like I said, they have a majority of the work done. They're going to be starting their project closeout and testing and et cetera. Ebert Engineering, Inc. is recommending payment request number 9 in the amount of $329,295.38 for the electrical contract. The amount of retainage has been reduced, and this payment request of the contract that the contractors asked for will allow the authority to receive the remainder of the grant that was received some time ago. There, really nothing else. We've had some activity with some of the developer projects in the borough. The big one has been, actually a couple of them. One has been 127 East Elm Street. That is a proposed Cooper Winery LLC to be a wine bar. We are working with the developers' engineers to get what they need to, get to us so everything can be approved and that construction can be finalized.
Do we have anything to worry with stormwater management back in there, that we need to do anything different since that all floods back in there?
I know those swales go behind there along both sides of the tracks. I mean, it does sit pretty level with that. It's not a lot of an incline there.
Does that usually get picked up in planning?
In the planning on the borough side,
Okay.
usually, yes.
All right, so for us, then, we should be covered, since
I think
borough
when-
is
yeah, I think when it comes that-
subcontract to make sure that.
Yes, I think when it comes that high, it affects everybody, so.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Don't they have to, the contractors will have to do something so it doesn't negatively attribute to our stormwater system.
Yes.
Or they have to pay at the time to
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out where in the process that gets picked up, but it
Yeah,
sounds
so-
like it's in the planning side.
It is, yes.
Okay.
The only other, we've been going back with a couple of the other engineers on a couple of the other developments. There really aren't that many developments happening right now. We have a couple small ones, and it should be everything.
Great. Any questions for the engineer? All right, so there's a couple things that we need to do from a business perspective. So I need 2 approvals for payment. So the first one is an approval of payment number 8, contract number 25-1 to HB Frazier in the amount of $126,801.25. And then an approval of payment number 9, which we talked about tonight, contract number 25-1, and that is in the amount of $329,295.38. So let's start with the first one. Looking for a
Motion
motion.
to approve payment 8.
Okay.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And I'm looking for a motion for payment number 9.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Great, thank you. All right, looking for a motion to accept the engineer's report into record.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is our operation manager's report this evening.
Okay. I handed out some packets here. So this year, I wanted to take a different approach when I met with Plymouth to talk. We had a discussion about the capital improvement plan. So rather than just go, like we did with just a simple piece of paper with a plan, we decided to just sit down and talk. So I put together this pamphlet here that just really outlined in detail what we need to do with these projects. So instead of them looking at a grid with just, stuff in there, they really can get a good idea, and they really seem to appreciate it. So I didn't make this part of my report because this is not the final thing there. It was just pretty much an update of where we're at. So we're going to circle around next week and see where we're at and if anything needs to be tweaked. But that's the second version of it, and I don't anticipate any more movement on it. So as soon as that meeting happens, I will follow up with an update.
Did they have any questions or concerns about anything that?
I think their
They're looking
biggest
at?
concern, because they're both new, it's a new manager and a new finance director, so I think their biggest concern was just, 3 or 4 years down the road, getting hit with an RBC, so they can reach out a couple years and really plan. So, we moved a couple little things around just to kind of level things out. None of that affects us down the road operation-wise, so I think we're going to be in good hands there. So, like I said, we're going to follow around next week and follow up and see where we end up with this.
Not just a general question, how do you, who comes up with these RBC upgrade numbers for us? Cash is,
We work in conjunction with engineers and evaluation ourselves.
okay. So is it like a class estimate type stuff, or I guess it's probably more preliminary than that? It's not like class.
We go off the estimate with the repair that we did how many years ago? How many years ago did we do last RBC evaluation?
2018.
So 2018, you do inflationary numbers where you stand.
Okay. Yeah, we're not like getting these individually quoted or.
No.
Yeah, okay.
It's we work with the RBC, the company that supplies it, so there are good estimates.
Yeah.
Well, it's not far off, because if we're 3.4 million, Ryan mentioned 3.9 earlier, so we're right there. And we're looking at ways where we can save cost internally as well, so.
And there's been a very good, and I'll turn back the clock, but I'm just worried about the future. We've come systematically to make Plymouth a partner with us. I have no problem telling you, 5-6 years ago, there's adverse. We are not that at that point. We have systematically over the years approached it. Ed and I came up with the idea, let's be a little bit more words instead of just looking at a spreadsheet, and the approach worked very well.
Yeah, that's great.
The 26.2%, that's just straight flow numbers? The contribution? Plymouth is 26.2, then we're 73.8.
Yeah.
It's just a flow count.
Yes, that's the agreement. And that changes from year to year, so that's when we have the who's that guy that comes in and does the reconciliation? Rick Orloff, thank you. So that's why that changes, really changes every quarter with the billing too, so.
And there's no other planned activity in Plymouth in the area that we take in anything? Like mass
Yep.
building or anything?
I think since they built all the proving grounds,
Okay,
there's really not much left out there.
Okay.
Unless they decided to do something else there. There's talk about redeveloping right on Ridge and Chemical. I know they're talking about putting, where the office parks are. But I don't know what they're gonna do there, if they're going to or not, so. That's the only place that can really fit anything, I think.
thanks.
The other thing I wanted to highlight was, we had 3 young men spend the summer with us working in the plant, and they were just great. They helped us with our staff we did the control building roof internally, and they were up there, and they helped move that project along so nicely. They went along the RBCs, and they painted all the gearboxes, the motor covers, all 27 of them. They completed the valve room down below the secondary clarifiers. I wasn't happy to see these guys go, so that was a big help. So I don't know where you found those guys, but Brent found them, but they were really good. So I told them if they want to come back, let me know, so.
Great.
And then the only other thing I was going to talk about was, I guess what my supplemental report was just something, Shannon and I have been dealing with this since we started with this, and it's just, it seems like there's a lot of holes in there, it doesn't flow the old application, and we find ourselves, and Richard, he'll testify to this, there's a lot of people just don't understand it, so I figured, why not just spell it out in the manual? And that's, that's the new application I'm trying to put together. The actual application is in that packet. So there's a glossary of terms in there, there's everything you could possibly need to know. Now, it's not done, because I definitely want the solicitor to go over it and find out anything that might not be there or shouldn't be there. But I just wanted to kind of share that, it's something I've been working with for a few months now, so.
Yeah, no, I started reading it. It's helpful for us as a
Yeah.
board
I think it's
to
great.
understand
Yeah, I think
it,
it's
yeah.
And after looking at it, it seemed like it was way overdue to have something like that. So I think it's fabulous. Great job.
Thank you.
And I guess, Michael, you guys will make sure we're covered, like, hey, because it's, anytime you get prescriptive like this and try to help someone out, it's like, oh, well, it said in here, so you're, so it's just gotta be
You
like,
didn't tell me I had to
this is
do
the
that.
recommend, yeah, it's like kind of like too much, and then, anyway, so.
I did meet with Libby from the solicitor's office on this 2 weeks ago, and I shared my ideas, and that's how I got the ball rolling, so.
It's great.
Yeah.
That
Thanks.
concludes my report.
Thank you. All
And
right.
I probably should know this, but is the newsletter that you put together out?
Yes.
It is.
Is it on the website? Because I don't think you ever did it.
Oh, we'll have to double check.
So we'll have to double check.
Okay.
I think that might have.
It was completed. I'll double check
I
that.
thought it was complete, but I didn't know. Are we just doing online now? And is it possible at the Fun Fest to have a few copies? I did
Absolutely.
hear some rumblings that people didn't like that it wasn't a physical newsletter. No, not me.
No?
No, I'm just technology. I'm look at me, I don't use the paper like you guys do. I might be old, but I'm not. No, but I
actually
think
like
it would be handy. Yeah, sometimes I do too. And like at Greenfest, even though it seems counterintuitive to have them printed at Greenfest, like there were some really big highlights of what we're doing to be conscientious about dollars spent that I think would be really helpful to make sure our community knows that.
Okay, definitely, I can make a bunch of copies of that.
Yeah, because I think you guys do a wonderful job, and I just wish more people knew it.
Thank you.
And remember it when we start raising the rates. by the way.
Right,
It's
exactly.
actually being done.
I'm setting them up.
commercially, there's not,
Yeah.
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 All right. Any other questions for Ed? All right. Hearing no other questions, do I have a motion to accept the operations manager's report?
Make the motion?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the executive director's report.
Well, we've completed the wastewater rate analysis for your digestion. And then we briefly talked over the 2027 budget. The highlight, as I mentioned, and Shannon, you can jump in any moment, is we're pre-planning and preparation of quarter to half our staff leaving in 2028. We know it's coming and it's rapidly approaching, and our preparation would be, the third quarter, just like we moved with Linda retiring, that same approach, be proactive, because we're losing, 60, how many years?
I'd say at least 55 years of
Service.
here.
Coming our way. And that's a big,
27, we think?
it'll be the second quarter of 2028.
Okay.
So we're looking in the next year already about trying to get some candidates in here.
And both guys are that's our whole maintenance department, both of them.
So that is cleaning and checking 100-fold where we were.
Absolutely.
And it's been a process. I just want to let you know that you had to see that in his report. So, item 3, we talked about cybersecurity insurance. If you recall, we sought out insurance and you gave us not to exceed number. But we have, in preparation to accept our quote, it exceeded that number. So we're coming back for approval to proceed to get our cybersecurity in regards to the cost that, and Shana, if you want to elaborate.
So, the one that they're suggesting is, it actually, so our amount to exceed was 1,500. It's $1,690. They did give a couple of other options if you want more security, but the one that they were recommending was the one for $1,690.
And what does that cover?
So there are, let's see, so it's the breach response is $100,000. Legal forensic public relations crisis management is $1 million. The policy aggregate limit of liability is $1 million. It looks like it may have, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not the ones when we brought them previously. We had a quote and it had a date on it and we had to go back and check the quote. Well, then they wanted to re-quote us. So I did tell them 1,500. They're, you know.
Trying, yeah.
It's only one company giving the cybersecurity, so.
So they're recommending option 2?
No, I think it's option
High
3.
deductible.
15, the premium I'm seeing is $1,540.
Yeah, so that's option 3. I misspoke when I said the 16.
Oh,
The
okay.
16 is the middle ground.
Right.
If you
Okay.
want the $1,000 deductible.
So it's 1,500 for.
So we're
higher
$40 over what we, my God.
Option 3 is only $50 over. But, like I said, it was an amount to not exceed 1,500,
Right.
so
So you're
we
bringing
had
it
to, I didn't want to just pick option 3 and say, okay.
I think given what's been going on in the world in the last 2 months, we need to jump at this.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the coverage.
Yeah,
That's my only thing, is this enough coverage?
right.
Is this for the year? This is not per month, this is for the year. The 1,500.
1,500.
Yeah,
Seems cheap.
yeah.
It does seem
exactly.
cheap.
Yeah,
And are
yeah.
they recommending the 1,500?
Because I would
Yeah.
think with the last 2 months of incidents that have happened at water plants across the United States, these rates are going up. That would be my guess. So yes, is option 3 enough coverage?
So this is the only company that provides this service?
I don't know if it's the only company, but when I reached out to Cohen, this is the only thing that came back.
There aren't
There aren't
a
that.
tremendous amount of people writing this.
But, yeah, I don't know, like, there's a couple things which have like, oh, $1 million for, I mean, how much assets do we own in all these different categories, I guess is kind of the question, right? But, like, if we get, we're not dealing in crypto, I don't think. But,
No, but if you think, we're a low electronics plant, so it's not like we've got all those computers running our plants. It's more of the
This is ransom.
administrative stuff, right?
This is ransom.
Yeah.
That's essentially in some ways what you're paying for. If you get
Where's the
hacked
ransom, where's the ransom line on
and
here?
your data gets compromised. No, it just is allowing them to go back in and, you know, cyber extortion laws, things along those
Yeah.
That would probably be, it's basically, we have something bad, we're getting around, somewhere around $1 million, it looks like, I mean, Dan would probably be, I guess would be much higher.
Well, it very often isn't really, the people who are hacking you aren't trying to, you know, stick a fork in your computer to have it fry, then you have to replace it. The people who are hacking you and taking your data want you to want you to pay. And then, I think the other parts of these policies are, you know, you can see there's telephone fraud, there's invoice manipulation, there's things along those lines. So those are the things that they're covering for your losses, but a lot of this is ransom. It was recent, not so recent anymore, a couple of years ago. You know, they got everything in East Narton, they shut East Narton down for like 6 days, and then East Narton paid the ransom and got, you know, about 70% of their data back.
And the questionnaire that we filled out to get this quote, I was looking through that and noticed that we don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it was a lot of information this time, we don't provide any kind of training to staff to prevent inadvertently giving out information, like if somebody was phishing through an email or a phone call. We're not educating our employees on preventing that. Did I read that right?
It depends, I guess we're not formally doing it. Like, I think what it is we rely on each other. What was the last week, there was an invoice that you called about?
Yep, there was like, we got an email with an invoice.
Like a wire company.
I got one actually just the other day that said, Tina approved this, and I'm like, yeah, that's not.
Right.
So.
I know Tina, she wouldn't say
Yes, she approved that.
But like Courtney's a new hire.
Right,
Like,
so
are we making sure that new hires, especially since we're going to be having some new hires coming up, is there a standard training out there? Like a web-based training?
I'll find out.
Yes,
You probably buy it.
I just sit through something.
And if there isn't, I know somebody who could create one for a price. No, but I mean, they're out there and it's self-paced and like, it's just kind of an annual, let's
I think most
refresh.
of these insurance companies offer it, and I think a lot of it is like web-based. And I do
Self-paced.
think our employee manual talks about, doesn't it talk about not, like, putting things on our computer system or something along those lines? Yeah.
But people don't understand what that actually turns into on the job. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the issue now is with AI, you used to be able to identify them with bad spelling and those kinds of things. Now with AI, they look real. I'm on strike 2 already at my work.
Oh, yeah, I was up to, I had one strike in my
The
life.
most important thing is us four now have to communicate on everything. You pick the phone up. If you don't know, I am very conservative with emails. I rather people just pick the phone up, talk to me. We see those checks and balances, but you have to pick the phone up. You got to. Every email can be corrupt, and just be careful what you do. But there's so much communication between all three of us, and now she'll be involved, Courtney will be involved as well.
But somebody could call posing as a customer, questioning a bill, and they're not the real person. So do we have checks to say, can you provide your account number?
Well, that's what
You know what I mean?
we always say. What is your account number? What
And
is the
I'm not
name?
saying
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
don't, I'm
No,
just
yeah.
saying, is there a
Formalized.
standard formal training so that new hires can go through it, and then they know, because
Right.
they took the training and passed a
Right.
5 quiz questions or whatever, have some kind of certificate of completion. That's all it's a CYA, like you said you took this training, you answered the questions, we need to make sure that we're,
I think we're moving in that direction, like we've got the manual now, so let's keep,
Right.
improving
formalizing,
administrative types of functions.
yeah.
Our conversation was, and Shannon will probably nod her head yes, that I told, as we proceed with Courtney and all our SOPs,
Yeah.
we are getting systematic with a new person on board. It changes our step back and evaluate how we proceed forward.
Right, and I think Courtney can be an asset to that, because she's the one experiencing this. So you have fresh eyes to say, okay, I'm overwhelmed and I don't know what you're talking about with any of this. You know, like that's good feedback.
All right, so is anyone opposed to giving Shannon the direction of moving forward with the $1,560 with the $2,500 deductible?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, Shannon, go for it. Cyber insurance.
Okay, item 4, as you recall, a couple months ago, we were informed Express Bill will be ceasing with Cassell, and there was a request to provide an economic analysis. What would that cause to our budget? And if you look at the little mini spreadsheet that Shannon developed in conjunction with our thoughts, you'll see the cost analysis, what Express Bill is compared to Cassell Payment Portal. And it is our understanding, we're still going to Cassell, that there's no stopping this process. It's almost equal, other than the one-time implementation fee. I don't know if you want to further, I know you and I developed this little spreadsheet.
It's going to be more about communicating it, I think.
Yeah.
That's going to be our big thing.
The communication to our ratepayers.
You might as well do the big bang, communicate everything. It's going to happen.
Same volume of one-time phone calls.
Exactly.
And we can decide when we're gonna do it, but I think that it would be best to have it implemented before March of next year.
March of 27 or
Yeah.
28?
27, so that way the March bill goes out
Clean.
and they can,
Okay.
redo their password or whatever it's gonna be, or create a new account in the new system, or this way. If we can do January 1st, that way we have a little bit of time, that's great, but if they can't fit us in, then we hope to have it by March 31st.
What's their implementation timeline?
They didn't give an
6 weeks?
implementation time. They said it's usually a pretty easy transition, but they have a lot of people going onboarding January 1st, so we may not make the list if we don't tell them sooner rather than later, so.
All right.
Are they committing to us for somehow that they'll uphold this service for some period of time, or is it we just get it
No,
yearly?
no, we don't have, there's never that. But it is a system within their system, so I'm assuming that they're not gonna, it's
Alright,
not
get
like
on
an
their
outside
list.
contractor.
Got to get on the list.
Add us to the list.
Get on the list.
And there are benefits. The bill that you're going to see online will be exactly what you get in the mail.
Do we have to take a vote on getting added to the list because it's
I don't think so.
Bend?
Do you have to sign a contract to get on the list?
I don't think so. We just let them know that we wanna, and then they'll send a contract.
Do we have to let Express Bill Pay know that we won't use their services anymore?
We will have to let them know at some point, but I'm sure that's
Okay.
down the line. We'll just be sending an email or whatever, and we can work with the solicitors on the order payment.
For the out clause?
Okay.
All right.
And item 5 is, I'd like to have a brief executive session.
Okay.
Any action after that?
No, no action.
Adjourn.
Yes.
All right. Any questions for the executive director's report? Hearing no questions, do I have a motion to accept into record?
Make the motion to accept.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make the motion
I need a motion to adjourn the meeting and move into executive session.
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Official meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.